the notion that there is strengths and virtues that are worth cultivating is something that not just psychology has to take seriously, but also the humanities. So much of English lit, art criticism, etc., has become kind of cynical and self-congratulatory without really considering what the great works of art or the great writings have been trying to accomplish, which is to lift people up and make them feel proud of being humans and being tried to be better than they were before.
What's triggered that? What triggered this cynicism, do you think?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's been the fact that after centuries of progress in technology and science, we still had world wars, we still had depressions, and people lost kind of faith in progress as a general trend. And I agree. I mean, progress doesn't happen just because technology is improving. Progress has to start in the human heart and the human soul, and that we have neglected. We haven't really developed a serious concern about human values and human well-being, except in the material sense.
Do you see these values coming out of anywhere else in academia, akin to what positive psychology has done?
Well, there are good people in every field, whether it's science or English. I mean, I had colleagues in literary criticism and science, which were very, wonderful models of this kind of value-driven activity, but they had been kind of isolated, and certainly I don't know why the leadership intellectually and politically has been taken over by people who are kind of cynical. I was just saying how young people get these commercialized visions of the good life through athletes, rock singers, actors, actresses, and they think that, okay, these guys have a good life, and if I want to kind of learn how to be that kind of person, and maybe they know deep down that they can't, but even so, 15% of teenagers want to be either athletes, expect to be professional basketball players or entertainers and singers, because they think that's the road to their good life. There is no comparable effort to communicate, and I admit it's more difficult to do it, because it's not to communicate the kind of thing that people here are doing, and how much more permanent and more satisfying this type of life is. But it's very hard to communicate that,
So how would you recommend one go about triggering off a flow of goodness, if you will?
Well, I think it depends. For young people, they need a little bit of pizzazz to it too. Young people look for the superficial characteristics, and if either that or you become like Mother Teresa or whatever, where you become famous for being poor and suffering, but that doesn't attract that much people attention at that age. So if you want to start early, you have to kind of, I think, show that give them a longer time horizon, first of all, that people who live a long time are much happier if they did this kind of activity, and show that older people who who had this type of lifestyle are respected, have peace of mind, they're comfortable with themselves, but most kids don't look that far, and we have to get that across, that it's not just the moment that counts, not what happens in the next couple of years, but there is a long life, and depending on how you live now, that life is going to be more satisfying.
Well, I've heard the process that the Encore career people are going through is described as a second adolescence, where they're developing a new identity, and it can be compassionate instead of competitive or whatever, but they go through a life change, and this pro-social second career, if you will, and it's a process of building a new identity and finding a new flow, if you will. I mean, I'm just using it. Any comments on that?
Yeah, well, see, what I was saying actually is that you have to start early to be able to do that. But I agree that it's a much more free. You are freed up from so many responsibilities. You no longer have to be worried too much about being successful, making a career, competing with each other. So it's much easier to relax, take a step back, and say, all right, so now that I'm freed up of all these pressures, family, job, what is it that I want to make with my life? So it's a new adolescence in the sense that you are freed up. Adolescents are before being compressed, and now it's opening up again. So it's, in a way, it's a more hopeful moment, because adolescents know that they will have to buckle down and pull their weight.